This is question 8C from your note package lesson 1, so the homework textbook questions that were attached at the end of the note package for lesson 1. Okay, it wants you to simplify this b squared plus 2b minus 24 all over 2b squared minus 72. So hopefully, remember that from a previous videos that I've made, the goal is to factor. So you got to factor the numerator, you have to factor the denominator, and then once you've factored, things will cancel. So if you have 3 terms from 10C, this would be a PSA1. Right? So 3 different terms would be a PSA1. I'm looking for what gave me a product of negative 24, what give me a sum of 2. So what multiplies to give you negative 24 and adds to give you 2, and that answer was 6 and negative 4. So if I factor this numerator and I use my answers, my factors would be b plus 6 and b minus 4, right? So you factor by PSA1. Then in the denominator, if I gave you, okay, you have 2b squared minus 72, and if I said, well, factor this, you would say, okay, I could factor out a 2 from here, right? So take the 2, factor it out, and what you're going to be left with is b squared minus 36. And then nothing cancels, so you have to say to yourself, okay, something must not be completely factored. What could I continue to completely factor to finish this? And it's this guy here. That you just need to recognize is a difference of squares. So difference of squares, 2 terms separated by a minus. You square root that guy, and you square root this guy. My numerator was b plus 6, b minus 4. My denominator is now 2, and then the difference of squares, the 2 factors become, so if I said, okay, well, what's the square root of b squared? Square root of b squared is b. What's the square root of 36? It would be 6. One gets a positive and one gets a negative. So this is your completely factored answer. Now what we could do is simplify, but what we should actually do before we simplify is we should, let me just see if I could highlight this. We should look at these 2 factors to get our non-permissible values, okay? So from this factor, b plus 6 cannot be equal to 0. That non-permissible is b cannot be equal to negative 6. And this factor, b minus 6 cannot be equal to 0. That factor is b cannot be equal to positive 6, so when you solve for b, okay? Now you could cancel, and b plus 6 and b plus 6 will cancel. It has to be an entire factor that needs to cancel with another factor, okay? And what I'm left with is b minus 4 is in the numerator, and then I have 2 and b minus 6 in the denominator. And then I would say comma and write down b cannot be equal to plus or minus 6, and that would be your full solution. One thing I just want to say before I close this video is you just need to be strong at factoring in order to be able to simplify. So PSA1, PSA2, GCF, and difference of squares. Those are the 4 methods of factoring that you need to be able to do, and all of these questions will require those 4 different types of factoring.